All right, so are you ready to dive into Tell Me Lies with me today? It's a psychological thriller by J.P. Pomeray, and it really gets under your skin.
Oh, absolutely. I'm fascinated by stories that explore the darker side of human nature, and this one sounds like it goes deep.
Oh, it does. It centers around Margo Scott, a psychologist who seems to have it all, successful career, beautiful home-loving family, the whole nine yards.
The perfect life facade, right? I bet it's all about to come crashing down.
You bet it does, and the cracks start to show with this incident at a train station. Margo accidentally bumps into one of her clients, and he falls onto the tracks just as a train is coming.
Oh, wow. Talk about a heart-stopping opening scene. That's got to be a tough one to shake off.
It is. It throws you right into the chaos and leaves you with so many questions. Was it really an accident? Who was this client? What was Margo even doing there?
And as the story unfolds, we start to see that Margo isn't exactly being truthful about what happened leading up to that incident.
Right. It's like watching a carefully constructed lie start to unravel.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time before the truth comes out.
Exactly. And that truth is a real shocker. It turns out Margo didn't accidentally bump into her client. She pushed him.
Hold on. She pushed him.
Ah.
Like on purpose.
On purpose. Which changes everything, right?
Yeah.
We go from a tragic accident to a deliberate act with huge consequences.
So who was this guy and why did she do it?
His name was Julian, and there's more to their relationship than just therapist and client. They had a brief but intense affair years ago, a secret Margo's been trying desperately to keep buried.
Ah, so there's a hidden past, a shared history that's coming back to haunt her. That adds a whole other layer to the story.
It does. It also highlights the theme of the past catching up to you, which runs through the whole book.
And this haunting starts to take on a very real feel for Margo as she starts experiencing these unsettling events. It's like Julian's ghost is tormenting her, making her question her own sanity.
Oh, that's interesting. It raises questions about guilt repression, the power of the subconscious mind.
Right, and it introduces this supernatural element to the story, which just adds to the suspense.
So is she actually being haunted, or is it all in her head?
That's the question, isn't it? Pomeray does a great job of keeping us guessing. And then on top of all this, Margo starts uncovering unsettling truths about her other clients, too.
So everyone around her is keeping secrets. It's like this web of lies and deception, and she's right at the center of it.
Exactly. Let's talk about some of these clients and their stories. First up, there's Sam, a young man who's struggling with anxiety and paranoia. He's convinced someone's watching him, following him, trying to harm him.
Okay, so his story kind of mirrors Margot's own paranoia, right? As she listens to his fears, she starts feeling that same sense of unease and distrust.
It's like their anxieties are feeding off each other, creating this vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And then the really unsettling part is that Sam's fears turn out to be justified. He really is being targeted.
Whoa, that's creepy. It makes you wonder how much of what we perceive as paranoia is actually valid, right?
Right. Then there's Sophie, a woman who claims to be haunted by the ghost of her abusive ex-husband.
Another haunting. Another layer of ambiguity. Are these ghostly encounters real or a manifestation of trauma?
Exactly. And as Margo digs into Sophie's past, she uncovers some pretty shocking secrets that tie back to her own life in ways she never expected.
Every new piece of information just complicates things further. It's like trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces keep changing shape.
And then we have Patrick, a successful businessman who comes to Margo for help with his marriage.
Okay, what's his deal?
Well, he's charming, manipulative, and definitely hiding something.
Uh-huh.
But Margo's bound by confidentiality, so she can't reveal what she knows.
Ah, so there's that ethical dilemma, right? Therapist versus protector.
Exactly. And as the story goes on, those lines get more and more blurred.
Sounds like Margot's in way over her head. What happens next?
Well, that's where things really start to get intense, but we'll have to save that for part 2.
Welcome back. We're picking up right where we left off with Tell Me Lies. And let me tell you, things are about to get a whole lot more complicated for Margo.
Oh yeah, the walls are closing in. She's dealing with the fallout of her actions, the suspicion surrounding her, and now she's getting these threats against her and her family.
It's like someone's turned up the heat, you know? Phone calls, notes, it's all very creepy and unsettling.
And the worst part is she doesn't know who's behind it or why they're doing it.
Right. Is it someone connected to Julian seeking revenge? Or is there some other player in this game we haven't even met yet?
And all of this is happening while Margo's trying to hold it together. She's dealing with the guilt over Julian's death. She's terrified her whole life is going to fall apart. It's a lot.
Definitely a recipe for a breakdown. And then she gets this package, a plain brown box, no return address. Inside, there's a USB drive.
Uh-oh. You just know whatever's on that drive is going to be bad news.
It's like that forbidden fruit, you know?
Yeah.
You shouldn't, but you can't resist the temptation.
And of course, Margo can't resist. She plugs it in, And what she finds is a total bombshell.
But before we get to that, let's talk about her husband, Stephen. He's been kind of in the background up to this point, the supportive husband, but now we start to see some cracks in his facade, too.
Yeah, there are hints of secrets, things he's not saying, that create this tension between them.
And that tension explodes when Margo watches the footage on the drive. It turns out Stephen's been having an affair.
Oh no. With who?
With Sophie, the client, who claimed to be haunted by her ex-husband.
Wow, talk about a double whammy. So much for trusting anyone,
It
Red.
throws everything into question. Was Sophie really a victim, or was she playing them both?
It's like the author's constantly pulling the rug out from under us, making us doubt everything we thought we knew.
And just when you think things can't get any more twisted, we find out who sent the USB drive.
Who was it?
Patrick. The businessman who is seeing Margo for marriage counseling.
No way. What's his angle?
It turns out he has his own reasons for targeting Margo and her family reasons that go all the way back to that summer when she had her affair with Julian.
So he's been playing the long game all this time, orchestrating her downfall.
And he's good at it. He uses his knowledge of her past, her weaknesses, to manipulate her. It's really chilling.
So Margot's trapped. She's caught in Patrick's web. Her husband's betrayed her. The threats are escalating. What does she do?
Well, she does what she has to do. She fights back.
But she's not just fighting for herself anymore. She's fighting for her kids to protect them from this guy who wants to destroy everything.
The stakes are incredibly high, and the tension just keeps building as we head toward the inevitable confrontation between Margo and Patrick.
So what happens when these two finally face off?
Well, Patrick, thinking he has Margo completely under his control, lures her to this abandoned warehouse. He promises to reveal everything, but Margo knows it's a trap.
It's the classic manipulator versus the manipulated. You're on the edge of your seat wondering who's going to come out on top.
And just when it seems like all hope is lost, Margo makes her move.
Yeah.
It turns out she hasn't been just sitting there taking it. She's been gathering evidence, piecing together Patrick's motives, and planning her counterattack.
So she's been playing him too. It's not just about survival. It's about taking back control.
Exactly. And what makes this climax so compelling is that it's not clear-cut good versus evil. They've both done some pretty messed up things, both driven by pain and a thirst for revenge.
It's that moral ambiguity that makes this book so thought-provoking. You're forced to confront the idea that maybe there are no easy answers.
And as the tension peaks in that warehouse, the line between victim and perpetrator gets really blurry. The hunter becomes the hunted, and you honestly don't know how it's going to end.
Okay, we're on the edge of our seats, but we'll have to pause there. Join us for the final part of our deep dive to find out how this twisted tale of truth and deception comes to a close. Okay, so we're back for the final act of Tell Me Lies, and I'm still reeling from that cliffhanger.
Right. That confrontation in the warehouse was intense. You could feel the tension radiating off the page.
So let's dive in. What happens when Margo and Patrick finally have it out?
Well, as things unfold, we see that Patrick isn't just trying to punish Margo. He wants to destroy her completely, to expose her deepest secrets to the world and leave her with nothing.
Remember, he's holding that secret from her past over her head. The one that could ruin her career and everything she's built.
Exactly. He's been using it to manipulate her to break her down. But in this moment of crisis, Margo finds a new kind of strength.
So she fights back.
Oh, yeah. But it's not just blind rage. She's been playing her own game this whole time, gathering evidence, figuring out Patrick's motives, planning her counterattack.
Wow, so she turns the tables on him.
You got it. And it's so satisfying to see her take control. Pomeray does a brilliant job of showing this shift in power. Margo goes from victim to strategist, using her intelligence to outmaneuver Patrick.
But it's still a morally complex situation, right? I mean, Margo's made her share of bad decisions too.
Absolutely. This book isn't about heroes and villains. It's about the messiness of human nature, the choices we make when we're desperate, and how those choices come back to haunt us.
So when Patrick realizes he's losing control, how does he react?
He loses it, becomes even more volatile. He lashes out, trying to inflict as much pain as possible before he goes down.
And how does it all end? Does Margo come out on top?
Well, I don't want to spoil everything, but let's just say justice is served, but not without a cost. There are consequences for everyone involved. No one walks away unscathed.
So in the aftermath of all this, what happens to Margo? How does she pick up the pieces?
There's a sense of relief, of course, but also a profound loss. She's lost her innocence, her belief in a world where things work out fairly. She's had to face the darkness in herself and in the people she trusted.
It's like she's gone through a crucible and come out the other side changed.
Exactly. She's not the same woman she was at the beginning of the book. She's stronger, more aware, but also more jaded.
So what's the takeaway here? What does Tell Me Lies teach us about ourselves?
For me, it's a reminder that secrets always have a cost. They get away at us until we have to confront them. And sometimes the truth, even if it's painful, is the only way to break free.
It's a powerful message. And it definitely makes you think about the choices you make and the secrets you keep.
Absolutely. This book will stay with you long after you finish it. It gets under your skin and makes you question everything.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. Tell Me Lies is a gripping psychological thriller that will keep you guessing until the very end. It's a story about the dark side of human nature, the power of secrets, and the price of truth. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.